The WNBA is on fire, and not in the way anyone expected. What began as a few murmurs about strange injury reports and inconsistent officiating has exploded into one of the most shocking stories in sports history. Federal agents are now officially involved, the FBI has launched an internal investigation, and the integrity of women's basketball is being dragged under the harshest light imaginable. For years, the WNBA was a story of progress, of growth, of a league finally catching national attention. But now, that very spotlight is revealing something darker, something that could destroy everything it's built. At first, it all sounded like gossip. Players quietly talking about injuries that didn't add up. Coaches whispering about questionable calls. Fans noticing that something felt off during key games, especially those involving Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever. But when those whispers reached the desks of league executives, they couldn't be ignored anymore. That's when the NBA itself stepped in, announcing an internal review of injury reporting, officiating consistency, and even betting irregularities. And then came the bombshell. The FBI had reportedly ordered a full-scale investigation into the WNBA's operations, with special focus on injury disclosures, suspicious officiating, and potential game manipulation. Suddenly, what sounded like a conspiracy theory turned into a federal case. The first signs of trouble came from the data. Integrity monitors noticed unusual betting spikes during certain WNBA matchups, bets that rose sharply around injury announcements and referee controversies. Some of those games, coincidentally or not, involved Caitlin Clark, the rookie phenom who has brought record-breaking attention to women's basketball. Fans saw her take hit after hit, fouls going uncalled, plays that would have drawn whistles for anyone else. It didn't just look unfair, it looked targeted. Online, fans called it a bounty. And as those clips circulated across social media, they caught the attention of federal analysts who were already investigating betting irregularities in professional sports. The WNBA, it seemed, had a problem much larger than just missed calls. Federal monitors soon began tracing betting activity tied to specific games, noticing an alarming pattern. When injuries were misreported or delayed, the odds moved sharply, and those moves often came before the league's public updates. That meant someone had inside information. Someone, somewhere within the league, was leaking details before they became official. And the FBI, well trained in identifying betting fraud, recognized the signs immediately. The investigation deepened, and agents began mapping the chain of communication within both the NBA and the WNBA. As agents followed the paper trail, one name kept coming up: Cathy Engelbert, the WNBA's commissioner. Initially praised for her calm leadership and corporate polish, Engelbert now found herself at the center of the storm. Internal memos, some written months before the scandal broke, allegedly discussed how to manage narratives around player injuries and downplay officiating controversies. To federal investigators, that language looked a lot like concealment. Worse, several referees who had been consistently assigned to high-profile Fever games were suddenly being questioned about their connections to league executives and external betting groups. One referee, who remains unnamed, reportedly oversaw multiple Caitlin Clark matchups, all of which featured questionable no-calls and sudden injury reports that conveniently altered betting odds. When investigators discovered that betting markets had spiked during those same games, the situation went from strange coincidence to full-blown crisis. It wasn't just about a few bad referees anymore, it was about whether the league itself had turned a blind eye to protect its image. Inside the WNBA offices, panic set in. Emails were quietly deleted. Servers were reportedly scrubbed. League PR issued a vague statement promising full cooperation with authorities, but insiders said the atmosphere was pure chaos. Some employees began consulting attorneys, others resigned altogether. Meanwhile, the FBI obtained subpoenas for executive emails, encrypted chat logs, and internal Slack messages. Their goal was clear: to find out who knew what and when. Every message, every file, every decision was now under federal review. And yet, the deeper the agents dug, the more disturbing the picture became. It wasn't just about officiating bias or missed calls anymore. It was about a culture, one where entertainment and image seemed to matter more than integrity or player safety. Reports began surfacing that some athletes had been pressured to stay silent about injuries, told to tough it out for the sake of ratings. Others claimed their medical conditions were misrepresented publicly, downplayed to avoid bad headlines. For Caitlin Clark, who had become both the league's biggest star and its most visible target, this investigation became deeply personal. Her treatment on the court, once dismissed as part of the game, now looked like evidence in a growing federal case. Then came the financial link. The FBI's Betting Integrity Division began tracing unusual betting activity across multiple states and even offshore accounts. Some of those digital wallets, investigators found, were connected to individuals with professional ties to the WNBA, consultants, mid-level employees, even contractors. It was the same pattern agents had seen before in other sports scandals. Small leaks of inside information, tiny shifts in injury status or referee assignments that could swing a betting line by thousands of dollars. Someone was profiting, and now the question wasn't if corruption existed, but how far up it went. At this point, the NBA itself could no longer remain on the sidelines. Adam Silver, the NBA commissioner and longtime advocate of league transparency, found himself dragged into the storm. Reports revealed that the NBA's own integrity division had circulated warnings months earlier about unusual betting activity involving both NBA and WNBA games. Those warnings mentioned irregularities in injury reporting and officiating assignments. Yet, nothing happened. No public statement, no policy change, just silence. That silence now looks damning. Congress has already taken notice. Lawmakers are reportedly preparing to question Silver directly, demanding to know how so many red flags went unnoticed or ignored under his watch. Meanwhile, communication logs between Silver's office and Engelbert's team have become a major focus for investigators. If any message shows that executives knowingly covered up or delayed internal investigations, it could trigger one of the most devastating leadership collapses in professional sports history. But Engelbert's situation may be even worse. Leaks suggest that she received multiple internal memos months before the FBI ever got involved, warning her of potential violations of integrity protocols and possible external exposure from betting patterns. Instead of launching an immediate inquiry, sources say she instructed her team to monitor online sentiment, treating a potential crime as a public relations issue. Now, those very memos are evidence. The FBI is combing through every message, every transcript, and every directive issued from her office. And some insiders claim that Engelbert even privately told Silver that Caitlin Clark's rise had made internal enforcement difficult, implying that optics, not ethics, drove her decisions. As the investigation widens, the fallout has been devastating. Sponsors are quietly stepping back, waiting to see where the chips fall. Team owners are furious. The league's fragile growth, the excitement surrounding Caitlin Clark, the surge in viewership, the long-awaited commercial success, is now hanging by a thread. Even players are beginning to speak out anonymously, describing an internal culture where complaints about referees or player safety were routinely brushed off. Some call it the silent war inside the WNBA, a battle between the image of empowerment and the reality of control. The FBI's findings could soon reshape the entire league. If evidence confirms widespread corruption, the consequences will be catastrophic. Suspensions, firings, and possibly criminal indictments. Engelbert could be forced to resign under indictment, and Silver himself might not be far behind. Congress is expected to hold public hearings, making this not just a basketball scandal, but a national story about ethics, money, and power in professional sports. What began as a few questionable calls on the court has evolved into a federal reckoning. Every part of the WNBA, from referees to executives to its very commissioner, is now under a microscope. And as the FBI continues tracing the money, the messages, and the motives, the truth is beginning to surface. Fans who once celebrated the league's rise now want accountability. They don't just want highlights, they want honesty. Because when the dust finally settles, one thing is certain: the WNBA will never be the same again. Whether it survives this storm depends on who steps forward and who the evidence takes down first. The league built on inspiration and equality now stands accused of deception and manipulation. It's not just a sports story anymore, it's a fight for the soul of the game. And as the investigation closes in on its final phase, fans are left wondering, how deep does this go? Was it just greed? Or was it something bigger? A system built to protect its power at all costs? One thing's for sure, the world of women's basketball has reached its reckoning point. What do you think? Can the WNBA recover from this? Or has this investigation already changed the league forever? Let us know your thoughts below, and if you want to follow this story as it unfolds, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because this is only the beginning. The next chapter will decide the future of the WNBA.